Hello and welcome to Essex by the Sea. I'm Owen Ward, exploring the Essex coast, finding out about the amazing and interesting stories it has to offer. Today I'm at the very eastern tip of Canvey Island with quite spectacular views out across the estuary. I'm here at the National Coastwatch Institution here on Canvey Island, and Grahame Harris is the station manager and joins me now. Grahame, thank you so much for welcoming me to the station here on Canvey.
You're very welcome, Owen.
Now, this brilliant vantage point is great, clearly, to watch the coast, but what are you actually watching for?
We're watching for anybody, any vessel or person or animal that's in trouble at sea or along the shoreline. And then if we spot something, we plot where it is, we report direct to Dover Coast Guard, who then will deploy whatever assets required to suit the relevant incident at the time.
Now, we are looking out over the estuary. As we're recording this, the tide is very much out. To be honest, I can barely see where the river is. All I can see is a vast void of mud. I mean, is this a particularly busy stretch of coastline?
It can be a very busy coastline because for commercial traffic, you've got Tilbury docks and you've got the new DP World docks. So you've got the massive seagoing containers coming down there, and also other craft going down to Port of London. And also, from a public point of view, there's lots of incidents because it's very busy. There's 8 yacht clubs within visual range of us here, and you've got Lee, Westcliff, Beaches, Southend, etc. In front of us, you can't quite see at the moment because of the mist, is Southend Pier, and the RNLI station on Southend Pier is the busiest coastal station in the country.
You're all volunteers, is that right?
Everybody's a volunteer. Most of us do 1 4-hour watch a week. Some do more. Nobody at NCI, even at headquarters, receives a salary, and we live off we are funded by the community that we serve.
People might be wondering then, we've heard of the Coast Guard. What's the difference between the Coast Guard and the National Coast Watch? How was it founded?
Right. Many moons ago, the government decided to get rid of all Coast Guard stations that kept a visual watch only. And then in 1994, some Cornish fishermen got into trouble in front of the now disbanded Coast Guard station at Bass Point, and 2 of them drowned. And the locals decided to man it voluntarily, and they did a deal with National Trust, who were the owners. They paid a peppercorn rent and refurbished it, and then that was the start of Coastwatch. So today there are 58 stations around the country. The nearest one to us here is at Thorpe Bay.
This network of stations then keep a watch across the coast. As I look out here, there's not too much to see. There's the odd bird and stuff, but I mean, you know, how busy is there? Sort of something every day, or every week?
We keep a log of everything that passes us, and the main reason for that is, say a yacht decides to leave Catherine's in South London, and wants to go down to Rochford or somewhere, and it never arrives. The Coast Guard says everybody's seen it. We can look at our log and say it passed us at such and such, so don't look towards London, look out to sea somewhere. It narrows down the search pattern, things like that. And we record the local weather. So if someone says, my ship was damaged in a hurricane 6 weeks ago, and we go, well, actually, that's not what we've got.
You sailed past us 2 days ago, yeah. With the variety of vessels then that are using this stretch of the River Thames and the Essex coast, it must then be quite a variety and actually quite enjoyable to literally watch the boats sail past.
It can be. This time of year, sometimes you'll get 4 or 5 commercial vessels. Another day you'll get 20 commercial vessels. During the summer, during the peak periods, you could have 80 sailing yachts out there just sailing around, which, you know, that's all. And sometimes you might get a squadron of 40 white Bermuda sloops coming from a place in Netherlands for a weekend in London, and then you've got to log all the one of those.
You can be quite busy. Do you get any advance warning that they're coming? I mean, do you have to get the extra logbooks out?
No, we have advance warning if there's going to be a race or something connected to one of this station, or, you know, near, because we're on the Island Yacht Club, etc. But not from far away. You get the odd military vessels coming through as well, so it can be very interesting. But the nearer we get to summer, the busier we're going to get in monitoring.
Today it's sunny weather, there's not a cloud in the sky, but it is a little bit misty out on the horizon. As you said, we can't quite see Southend Pier. No, I'm looking out. I can't quite see it in the mist. But on a clear day, when visibility is good, I mean, how far can you actually see?
We could see the wind farm 17 nautical miles away, which is about as far as we can see. And that's a visual range, but we've also got powerful binoculars and also CCTV to help us.
Well, that's something I did notice in the blue hut. I hope you don't mind me calling it a hut. It's a station. It's a station that's got this brilliant vantage point out across the estuary. It's got quite high tech inside. Yes,
the future's high tech. I mean, if we just sat here with a pair of binoculars, I can't see, because basically Canvey Island is an island. So I've got a camera at the Benfleet Yacht Club, which is to our left, looking down towards Two Tree Island. Mm-hmm. I've got a camera on top of our mast that covers from Two Tree Island down to Southend Pier, across the Sheerness and the Kent coast. I've got another one on somewhere else following along the promenade, and I'm trying to get one at Holehaven at the moment, but I haven't succeeded just yet. That's
the thing. I mean, we have got water pretty much on three sides of where we are. We are at the very easterly point of the island. So it's not just the traffic, as you say, that's going up and down the river. I mean, do you use radar and
we do have radar,
satellite imagery or whatever? I'm not sure what you use.
We have radar, which overrides onto an arbitrary chart, and then we have an AIS system, automatic identification system. Most commercial vessels broadcast who they are, where they are, speed, etc. And that's overlaid on that. We also have that free AIS system. We have 3 radios. We have Channel 65, where if any of the people want to have a radio check, AIS check, we will do that. We broadcast the local weather twice a day and an opening closing statement on the station. We have another radio which is called the listening radio, Channel 16, so all vessels listen to Channel 16. If you want to call, Vessel A wants to call Vessel B, it'll call you up on 16 and then they will say we'll go to another channel. You can't block it, because if there's a pan or a mayday, it will be on Channel 16 that everyone will hear. And then the other radio we've got is Channel 0, which is the search and rescue dedicated channel.
Now, I mentioned the mud flats that are stretching far out in front of us, and we know around like Leigh-on-Sea the actual channels are quite deep, they're quite narrow. There's mud banks, sandbanks all around this part of the coast. Do boats regularly miscalculate and get stranded?
Most of the boats around here who are experienced and have the right qualifications, they're not a problem. It's the person that decides to buy a boat, doesn't take any lessons, goes out, and then and also on a spring tide, the whole of this grass in front of us will be covered as well. You can't see any of the banks, and sometimes you get the odd jet skier come flying around here and doesn't know that it's not open sea there. And people go for walks. Sometimes they just walk out on the mud. I mean, I know what time high tide is, so if they were going out and I know high tide is going to be in about half an hour, we try and communicate with them that you don't go too far, because you may need assistance coming back.
The station is manned entirely by volunteers. There's 3 of you here at the moment. How big is the team?
We have at the moment 39 people.
And are they all from Canvey?
No, the furthest one away is Shenfield. So he comes and does a full day. It's not worth him coming here for 4 hours and then going home again. So he does a full day. But we always need volunteers, especially for weekend. We need some weekend warriors. We don't do at nights because we can't see anyway, unless there's something very extraordinary that would ask us to come and man it at night. We normally go 8 till 12 the first watch and 12 till 4 for the second watch, and then during the summer we hope to do the dog watches going up until dusk. Mm-hmm. Because it's not so much the commercial vessels, it's the people that, the person that's on the jet ski that doesn't know what they're doing, or etc., or the person that's on the inflatable that's now 3 miles out, or the swimmer that thought they could swim over to that buoy over there and can't make it back.
Very deceptive, the distances involved. So what was it that got you involved then with the National Coastwatch? I mean, have you got a background in maritime?
I joined the Navy when I was 15, Royal Navy, Fleet Air Arm, and then I only did it 9 years, from a while ago, so I had an interest in this sort of thing. And then when I retired, I had a friend of mine I met on a naval and military history group, and he said, I'm at the station. Would you like to come and join? So I thought, oh, well, I'll come 4 hours a week, that's no problem. And then 4.5 years later, I'm the station manager, which is not 4 hours a week.
I suspect not. And sort of working with colleagues around the coast then, I mean, that's a lot of volunteering hours that are taken up, keeping a watch, keeping everybody safe.
Yes, nationally, if you go on to our National Coastwatch NCI website, they will tell you how many man hours so far, how many incidents. I think nationally we had 44 incidents up to today, nationally, but it will tell you how many were last year or the year before, etc., etc., and tell you what we do. If you want to volunteer, how to volunteer, and if you want to donate, how to donate. I
suspect keeping a station like this running 7 days a week, 24 hours a day almost, is quite costly because the cameras are running all the time, although, the visual watches are only during the day. Yeah. We've talked about you respond to incidences in terms of calling it in. I mean, what kind of incidences... what was the latest incident perhaps that you had here at the station on Canvey?
The last incident was really more a monitoring incident. We were called up by the Coast Guard based at the flood barrier and said, could we keep a lookout for a canal barge, which I won't name, which was coming down. It was heading towards the Blackwater. It had no radio, no VHS radio, no... AIS systems, so very little communication, and they were very concerned for its safety. And then we got told that they'd run aground at Blythe Sands and that they had to get the owner ice to come and pull it off and take it to our old National Coastwatch station at Hullhaven, and they were told to stay there till the morning. And then we were asked to stand down, and a little while later we saw it come past us, so then we had to report it. The concerns were passed on to Solent Coast Guard, because Dover Coast Guard sometimes can get very busy. Yes,
we're very busy in the English Channel, of course. The sight of a canal boat out on essentially the high waters of the Thames Estuary, that's quite unusual then.
Yes, going out, any around here, yep. I mean, we might see the occasional Thames barge, but nothing, I've never seen a canal boat on here, especially it's going towards open sea. And I spotted it the next day, beached up by the Southend Pier, so I don't know what he did after that. So.
You never know, it might well still be there, who knows. Well, Grahame, thank you very much for inviting me down here. You mentioned the website for anybody who's perhaps interested in volunteering. Are you looking for volunteers?
Yes, we are looking for volunteers, especially when we get very busy during the summer. We try to go to 3 watches, so and especially we're interested in weekend people that get a chance and would love to volunteer but could only do weekends. That would be ideal. Yeah. And we train them up. There is an exam, but it's a verbal one, and you learn at your own pace. There is no pressure for you to do it in such and such time.
And presumably a good pair of eyes.
Yeah, a good pair of eyes are needed, yes, and everything you need to know you'll be taught, and at a pace that you like.
Well, Grahame, thank you ever so much for inviting me down here to the National Coastwatch Institution station on Canvey Island. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I'm very pleased to meet you.
More and more of you are listening to the podcast, so if you've just discovered it, don't forget to subscribe on your favourite podcast app so that you don't miss a future episode. And until that next episode, thanks very much for listening.